Time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
Yeah, I mean, the scoring conditions today were good. You know, it's not a lot of wind, you know, good weather. Course is in great shape, so the scoring low scores are out there for sure.
The golf courses, they don't really compare other than they got a tee box, a fairway, a green, and a hole. But it's totally different style of golf. But it's also one of those golf courses. If you hit good shots, you get rewarded. If you hit bad shots, you get penalized. So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to the next couple of days and hopefully get in contention.
Hard to tell. Pete Dye and I have gotten along awfully well. My track record on Pete Dye courses has been awfully good. This course is definitely goes down as one of my favorites. Anytime I get asked favorite events of the year, this one's way up on my list.
Well, if you can't tell, the RBC Heritage is underway down at Harbortown at Hilton Head Island. You can also tell that God is a golf fan because he made a beautiful day for the beginning of the RBC Heritage, the 50th annual RBC Heritage. We are all over it with Will Pelagic down at Harbortown, who'll be joining us in just a moment. God is also a Yankee fan, and because the Yankees, of course, kicked the Red Sox butt last night, he made for a beautiful day today here in South Carolina. I mean, yeah. That's 1-1. It's 1-1.
14-1.
Out of the 19 games they will play in the regular season. Right now, the season series is tied 1-1 with the third game of the series tonight at Fenway Park. Welcome into Sports Talk. Hope you've had a great day. It's only getting better as the afternoon moves on because Sports Talk is here across the state in your ears. In front of your eyes if you're watching our Periscope on Twitter. 800-956-7266. It can be in your phone as well. 800-956-7266. Our email talkback@sportstalksc.com, on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. Phil Kornblut here with the Professor, Tom Hayes, who took last night off because it's his traditional night off, the last day of the NBA regular season.
No.
And so you were taking your night off because your free NBA package was ending as of last night.
That's because
you're going to watch every game.
Some of us stay up. Some of us have to be in this office at 5 in the morning.
Who? Name one person.
Me.
I did my penance for 12 years, okay? Will is down at Harbortown. Let's head down there and get the updated leaderboard. The first round is about to come to a close completely. Things started early this morning, and you could not have asked for a better day watching it on television, Will. I'm thinking to myself, why did I let you go down and not me? Because you landed on a beautiful day at Harbortown.
Oh, I'd love to tell you, Corn, that it was miserable and hard and grueling and unruly. But if I was going to do that, I'd just be lying to you. It was a fantastic day for golf. We had basically picture-perfect conditions in the morning, a little bit of chill, but not too much, a little bit of a wind shirt type weather to begin the morning. And then as the sun came up and basked over the Calabogie Sound and the 18th hole and all the other great, magnificent scenes that you can see here at Harbortown Golf Links, we had prime scoring conditions in the morning, and then once the winds picked up and the greens and fairways became a lot more firm, it became a much rougher track out there. Rory Sabatini, who was one of those morning tee times, a 7-under 64 to set the pace. 4 golfers, including Matt Kuchar, are 2 back at 5 under par. A lot of the local notables kind of off the pace. The guys who are basically in the hunt, if you will, at 2 under par, comprised of both #1 player in the world, Dustin Johnson, and defending champion Wesley Bryan. Also, Scott Brown is at 1 under par. Kevin Kisner also at 2 under par. Sam Saunders at 1 under par. Really, you know, it's interesting to kind of see how these guys have hit the pace because a lot of them feel very nervous about the weekend, especially Sunday, because of the potential rain that could be coming in. And, of course, because of the fact that so much of the rain that encompassed Hilton Head Island and the Low Country over the last couple of days before during the practice rounds, it means that if we don't get enough rain or at least enough moisture in the morning over, say, Friday and Saturday, it could make for tough conditions all day, not just in the afternoon.
Yeah. Well, those who got out early, as you mentioned, taking advantage of it, and just looking at some of the scores, Will, I mean, basically half the field is even par or better. So that's a terrific start there. The leaderboard is jammed up. You mentioned jumping out on things this morning, getting his 7 under 64. That's an excellent day out there. But again, you've got 4 tied for second, just 2 off the pace. And then you've got a group of another 4 tied for third at, well, they would actually be tied for sixth at 4 under par, 3 off the pace. So it's a very tight leaderboard as we go into round 2 tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it's tight. And the thing is, you know, a lot of those guys who set those low scores for the guys who teed off in the morning. Really, the only guy who, amongst the people who teed off in the afternoon, that really made a big run was Chesson Hadley. He's in that group, as you mentioned, at 5 under par. Other than that, the rest of these guys were all morning tee times. Harris English, Martin Laird, they were all off early, as was Patrick Cantley, as was Jonas Blix. They were in that group at 4 under par. Charles Howell III had one of the earliest tee times. He even teed off before the 8:10 tee time that had Dustin Johnson, Wesley Bryan, and Matt Kuchar all together. Peter Malnati's in that group at 3 under par as well, along with Bryson DeChambeau. Again, many of these tee times came off early, and again, those who had the basically top draw of the afternoon for Thursday found themselves either around the even par line or even some of them actually over par.
Rory Sabatini, the product of Arizona, South African native. At one point in time, he was a hot golfer on the tour, 190th in the world rankings coming into Harbor Town. But he had himself a good day, especially on the green and around the green. Very high percentage of greens and regulations and saving strokes on the greens. That's probably why he's sitting there at 64.
He is, and it's weird. You know, he was actually.
We'll get back to Will in just
Sunday,
a moment.
Said,
go ahead. Go ahead, Will. I'm sorry.
He said so he was actually planning about a golf.
Okay,
trying to work on his posture.
Hey, Will, we're gonna reconnect with you because you're dropping in and out. We'll get back to you in just a second. Will Pelagic down in Harbor Town,
picking up.
Possibly so. He's down there on the island, and connections down there can get a little dicey sometimes. So we'll reconnect with him in just a moment. Again, the top of the leaderboard looks like this in round 1. It's Roy Sabatini, 7 under 64. John Huh, 5 under 66. Billy Horschel, the same. Matt Kuchar, always popular at Hilton Head, 5 under. Chesson Hadley, 5 under 66. Then your 4 unders, Harris English, Martin Laird, Patrick Cantlay, Jonas Blixt, and your 3 unders, Charles Howell III. Always think about Gilligan's Island when I think about Charles Howell III.
Jim Backus.
Fabian Gomez, Peter Manatee, and Bryson DeChambeau. Also, Nick Watney and Siwoo Kim. Also at 3 under, Xander Shuffle, Cameron Smith. Also, Bryce Garnett. Got a lot at 3 under 68. Wee Kim. And that's it for your 3 unders. Checking the locals. Bill Haas, 2 under 69. Kevin Kisner, 2 under 69. Dustin Johnson, a 2 under 69. Also the defending champion, Wesley Bryan, 2 under 69. Scott Brown, a 1 under 70. Sam Saunders, a 1 under 70 for him. Jonathan Bird, even par 71. William McGirt, the same. Clemson's Doc Redman is even, the amateur. He's even as he's playing the 18th. And Ben Martin, a 3 over 74. The same for Lucas Glover. Also, multiple-time winner Davis Love III, a 2 over 73 for him today. And Jim Furyk, a former champion, 1 under 70 for him. Martin Keimer, 2 under 69. And that is it as far as the notables that we're keeping an eye on. Let's go back down to, I'll tell you what, we'll go back down to Will after the break. A break is coming up. We'll get more from him. He's got plenty from the golfers as well, as he was out and about on the golf course, catching the golfers as they wrapped up their play. We'll hear from some of them tonight. Of course, you got the WNBA draft tonight. with Asia Wilson of USC slated to be the #1 pick. Clemson has its new women's basketball coach, or will, tonight when the Board of Trustees signs off on it. She's the former coach at the University of Florida. Her name is Amanda Butler. We'll talk more about that coming up after the break here on Sports Talk.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phone number 800-956-7266. And our email talkback at sportstalksc.com and on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Want to remind you Of course, that we've got USC baseball coming up tonight. Gamecocks opening up a series at Arkansas. That'll be at 7 o'clock Eastern time. Gamecocks coming off a win at Citadel and trying to rebound from a series loss at Kentucky. They're facing one of the best teams in the country. Arkansas coming in ranked number 3 in the country at 25-9, 8-4 in the SEC, leading the West. They will throw Blaine Knight, a right-hander, a junior at the Gamecocks tonight. 6-0, 1.93 ERA, 48 strikeouts in 46 2/3 innings. The Gamecocks will counter with freshman right-hander Logan Chapman, 3-0, 3.86 ERA, 32 strikeouts, but 16 walks in 30 innings. And Arkansas is an offensive-laden club. Team batting average of .311. They have hit 56 home runs, a slugging percentage of .515, on-base percentage of .411. They can steal a base. The ERA is excellent at 3.24. This is going to be a tough outing all weekend long for the Gamecocks. Well, tonight and through Saturday. This will be a big test.
Not to sound like a meteorologist, but maybe some of those homers are wind blown. All this weather that we've had above in the central area of the country, Nebraska, Iowa, another snowstorm is moving in. And apparently in Arkansas at this hour, the winds are gusting at 25 to 30 miles an hour. So that means if it's blowing out.
Well, the Gamecocks can hit the long ball too.
But if it's swirling, it'll keep the ball in the ballpark.
Gamecocks dig the long ball too, you know, bro. Gamecocks can hit the long ball. Key for them is getting some people healthy, getting Madison Stokes back in the everyday lineup. He did DH the other night. Need to get him healthy back out in the field and get Campbell back in at the top of that lineup. And they need Hopkins back in there as well. And if they can get healthy, I mean, they can be a very competitive team. They, for the most part, they're competitive, though a little bit up and down. I mean, you know, you give up 15 runs one night to Kentucky, then you turn around and put 15 on them, 14, and you know, it's been a little bit up and down with that. So USC baseball, Gamecocks only team in the state in action tonight. Braves are off. They'll open a series in Chicago tomorrow. This afternoon in Chicago, the Pirates took it to the Cubbies at Wrigley. Sure, it was cold Wrigley, 6-1 that final. And just underway, Cleveland with a 1-0 lead on Detroit.
Classic major league meeting on the mound. They go to the pitcher. I forgot who it was. It's 3-1. Do we keep him in? They talk to him. Yeah, I'm okay. Okay. The very next pitch.
Bang.
Boom.
Yeah.
3-run homer.
Yeah, yeah. Will, you had a chance to catch up with a number of the golfers. Tell us who we'll be hearing from, and I think we're going to have a little bit of comment here from your leader, Rory Sabatini.
We will. And before we were disconnected, Corn, I wanted to mention about Rory. Apparently, he's about as surprised about this round as anybody is because he hurt his back on Sunday trying to work on his posture and his golf swing, and he was practicing really, really bad and kind of hurt himself doing it. So he was about as surprised as anybody about his opening round 64, which has him on top of the opening round of the RBC Heritage.
I think anytime you can go bogey-free on this golf course, you've accomplished something. You know, golf course is an absolutely incredible condition. I've never seen throughout the entire golf course. The conditioning of this golf course is fantastic right now. So it's the scores are out there. The greens are receptive and probably a little slower than we're accustomed to these greens being just after the rains on Tuesday. So I think today is the day to go out and get the number because it's only going to get tougher as the week goes on.
Matt Kuchar is part of that group at 5 under par, 2 shots back from Rory Sabatini. John Huh, Billy Horschel, and Chesson Hadley joined Kuchar there. Kuchar was part of one of the big feature groups that went off at 8:10 this morning here in Harbortown. He was playing with 2 South Carolina natives, Dustin Johnson and Wesley Bryan. Johnson, of course, the #1 player in the world, and Bryan, the defending champion here at this event last year. It's funny how both those guys were getting a lot of the attention early, but as the round went, the unlikely fan favorite was Kuchar.
Wesley said that there were a little bit too many cooches for his liking with two South Carolina guys in here. How much have you kind of embraced the fan favorite role here?
This is such a great week. One of my favorites of the year. Love coming to this tournament. They get such good local support. They're really great crowds. To play with world number one, to play with kind of a local boy in Wesley Bryant, the defending champion. We had some great crowds, and there was good energy. I think all three of us were playing awfully well today.
How'd you assess your round?
I'm very pleased. Started off with 2 birdies to open my round, and that was a great way to start. From there, it was kind of slow and steady, and then had a wonderful finish. Had a couple of birdies that are a bit unexpected, in particular the eighth. The eighth is a hole you're always just looking to get by, and to go ahead and get birdie there was nice.
Scoring conditions pretty ripe this morning.
They were. There were pockets of the golf course that felt like it was calm and still and no wind at all. And then we'd hit areas of the golf course where it felt like it was whipping pretty good. And some of these holes, because you don't often play above the tree line, you typically play underneath. And some of these holes feel like it becomes a wind tunnel where the wind just goes through and changes directions depending on which hole is facing.
What about this course suits your game?
Hard to tell. Pete Dye and I have gotten along awfully well. My track record on Pete Dye courses has been awfully good. This course is definitely goes down as my favorites. Anytime I get asked favorite events of the year, this one's way up on my list.
We got to take moments today where you compare it back to 2014, and when you think of some of the shots today, what's it going to take then to win this again another time?
Course is a little bit softer this year than it's been in past, particularly in 14 was fast. Last year was really fast. This place to win, it takes 4 good rounds, and I've got 1 down, but 3 to go is a lot of golf left.
We started off kind of crappy with the weather, but now today was a beautiful day. Just how were the scoring conditions out there?
Yeah, congratulations on that. Well done. Well done. It's Tuesday was a harsh day. Yesterday was a nice day, and it'd be great if we get 3 more days like this. I think everybody works so hard to put on a good show here, and to get good weather is a big help.
What do you take from your game from today to bring into Friday and the weekend?
Played good. I'll have an afternoon tee time tomorrow. We're not sure what conditions will be like, but certainly very pleased with my performance today. Pretty steady, a lot of fairways, a lot of greens, and once you get on these greens, you feel like you got a chance to make putts. We come from last week where getting on the green did not mean very much. You still had a lot of work to go just on the putting surface. Here, the greens are very makeable, mostly flat, and if you get on, you feel like you got a good chance of making birdie.
How do you assess the start?
Last one.
How do you assess the stark difference in the challenges between last week and this week?
Very different. Certainly, we've got a flat course. It's easy to walk. I think the biggest difference is how challenging the walk is last week to this week. This is a pleasure to get around this course. Here we've got much tighter fairways with trees overhanging. But if you miss a fairway here, you don't feel like you're penalized like when you miss a fairway at Augusta. The greens are so severe that you need to have all the control possible of your golf ball with spin included. That here, miss a fairway, they give you a chance to play a nice recovery shot and feel like you got a chance at still making par or even birdie.
Okay, great. Thanks.
That's Matt Kuchar, who had 3 birdies in his last 4 holes, 4 altogether on his last 9, part of a group, again, that is 2 shots behind the leader, Rory Sabatini. You mentioned the lone golfer who was on the course of local interest. That was Doc Redman. He ended up making his par at 18 to finish even par 71 for the day, tied for 49th in a group that also includes local notables William McGirt and Jonathan Bird. Corn.
All right, very good. We'll hear from more of the golfers there at Harbor Town as we move on through the program tonight, and we will also do a little Clemson football as the Tigers released their rosters for the spring game coming up on Saturday. And we've got USC baseball coming up, too, a little bit after 7 o'clock. We'll be keeping a close watch on that. The money coach, Fran Halloran, will be with us as well in our second hour. So we've got a lot to do here on this Thursday edition of Sports Talk. We'll work in some calls as well. 800-956-7266 is the number. We'll be right back. And we're back. Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. Clemson has called a press conference for noon tomorrow to introduce their new women's basketball coach. It's going to be Amanda Beard, former coach at Florida.
Butler.
I'm sorry, Amanda Butler. Amanda Beard. She was a swimmer.
I've heard that name before.
Yeah, Amanda Butler. A state newspaper reported this afternoon that is the choice of Dan Radakovich, and the Board of Trustees had a conference call this evening to formalize things. She was previously the head coach at Florida, led the Gators to the postseason 8 of 10 seasons, including 4 NCAA tournament berths. She had 2 losing seasons in her final 3 years in Gainesville, but also 6 20-win seasons. And before Florida, she led Charlotte to the NIT in her 2 seasons there. This past season, she worked for the SEC Network, and also she shadowed Brad Stevens with the Boston Celtics to learn some things from him.
Okay.
So she comes to Clemson highly schooled from that standpoint. Career record of 230 and 159, including 190 and 136 at Florida. Of course, the Clemson women's program has been in the pits for many, many years. They've not been able to replace Jim Davis, regardless of who the coach has been. They've had no success from that standpoint, and it's a tough job. You've got a giant in the state in the USC women's program, and you've got tough competition when you look around the ACC. There's some very good women's programs in the
North
ACC.
Carolina,
Louisville,
Virginia, Louisville, Notre Dame.
Not sure Virginia. I'd put Virginia in that category.
Notre
They're
Dame,
changing coaches.
yeah.
Notre Dame, yeah, Notre Dame.
The
Louisville,
national champion, Notre Dame.
yeah, Louisville. North Carolina's been not what North Carolina used to be. It's still tough. The Clemson program is way, way down, so she's going to have her work cut out for her. Maybe she'll be aided by the fact that the player who was supposed to be the best player on the team this past season was hurt, I think, all season.
Mm-hmm.
And so get her back, that'll be something to build around. I have to admit, I don't know that much about their personnel, so I don't know exactly what she'll have to work with. But she'll be introduced tomorrow at noon. A little bit after 7 o'clock, the WNBA will have its draft on ESPN, and USC's Asia Wilson will be, in all likelihood, the first pick of the Las Vegas Aces. And today, she picked up another honor. The Collegiate Women's Sports Awards announced that she is the winner of the Honda Sport Award for basketball. This is voted on by administrators from over 1,000 NCAA member schools. That makes her a finalist for the Collegiate Woman Athlete of the Year and the 2018 Honda Cup, which will be presented in Los Angeles on June 25th. So the trophies continue to pile up. There was a story in the state today about the possibility, Ray Tanner was asked, of a statue being erected in honor of Asia Wilson at the Colonial Life Arena, which personally I think is a good idea. I think it's a great idea. You're probably never going to have another women's basketball player as successful as she. To win 4 SEC championships, a national championship, all the accolades that she won this year, the highest honors you can earn in women's basketball, I would say yes. I think that would be a great idea. But then you get back to the question about building monuments to people. Is that a good idea to begin with?
Well, to me personally, if someone wanted to have a monument to me, Mr. Hayes, would you like to have a statue? Yes, when I'm dead.
Huh.
Don't put up some effigy of me while I'm standing.
Well, in
alive.
today's world, a lot of these statues are being torn down for one reason or another, mostly politically related, of course, not sports related. I don't think have we seen, Will, where anybody's gone out and jerked down a statue of a sports? I guess Paterno would be one. Yeah, that would be one. And that's a good example of what you run into.
That's obviously for much different reasons than having anything to do with his sports accolades, having more to do with the stuff that happened, unfortunately, off the field in the Penn State football program. But if you're willing to have one, that is the prime A example. But I mean, I think, and I would extend it out this way. We've talked ad nauseum about the accomplishments that Asia Wilson has made and where her accomplishments stand, not only in relation to women's basketball across the the SEC, across South Carolina, and even just accomplishments inside South Carolina's own athletic program. I mean, it's hard to find somebody who has the skins on the wall that she does. And if there's anyone who's deserving of a statue that has played for South Carolina in recent vintage, it's her.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, she, in her particular sport, she's accomplished everything that you can accomplish both team-wise and individually. But then you have to think about, what are the qualifications for having a statue erected in your honor? All right, you've got George Rogers. He's got his, and he was, of course, an All-American, a Heisman Trophy winner, the nation's leading rusher, first pick of the NFL draft. Okay, he didn't win a national championship. He played in the era of independent football for USC, so he couldn't win a conference championship, so he could never get those rings. How do you measure that versus somebody who team-wise excelled as well as individually?
Well, what I'm feeling here is an undercurrent, and that is, let's show her all the love we can give her, because we had a lot of accolades for John Roach, but he was a New Yorker.
Mm-hmm.
George was across the border. He was a Georgia guy. Here's an athlete who stayed at home, and maybe we show her love. Some of these athletes that left the state will stay here if we show we love her.
And then that's the thing, Pro, that you hit on that I kind of want to hit on as well. The reason you do this is not because of Asia Wilson. It's to show the future members of the South Carolina women's basketball program how much that this team takes care of its own. And I think that so much of what Dawn Staley's biggest challenge is going to be is trying to find, I don't want to say another Asia Wilson, but to find players who can make up the next Asia Wilson, or at least the next output that measures what Asia Wilson brings to the table. And it's not as if she's not trying, but those players are very, very hard to come by. They're not always out in your backyard. And obviously, we know how very thinly distributed the massive amounts of talent are in women's basketball. They're really reserved for select few. The Tennessees, the Notre Dames, the UConns, and the like. So from the perspective of Dawn Staley, I'm wanting to do anything possible to not only honor Asia Wilson, make her as visible as possible. So not only can we give her the due that she deserves, but also make a foundation for South Carolina players of the future.
Then you've got to erect a statue for Michael Roth, I would say. He was a National Player of the Year.
Bullpen after him. They named the bullpen after him.
He
Did they not?
He won a national championship or two. He was a National Player of the Year. He was all kind of SEC honors, and then you have to name.
Don't go spending retainers' money.
You have to erect a statue for Reggie the horse. He's received all kind of equestrian honors for the equestrian team. I think he's won a.
Now you're just being.
I'm just saying, if you're going to erect, seriously, you can't. Where do you draw the line, though? They've got Olympic athletes. The USC's got Olympic athletes in their past who won Olympic gold medals, who won SEC championships. You got an SEC. You got a national championship in SEC women's track. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm not trying to be silly here. I'm just saying, where do you draw the line? Are you only going to recognize football, basketball? What about your other great athletes? That's the problem you run into when you start selectively doing these things.
I will say this: she has put a sport. She and Dawn Staley both have put a sport that was largely anonymous in South Carolina's history and lore. It's put South Carolina in the forefront of exposure, and I think that is what you're rewarding, not just the accomplishments, but you're rewarding the fact that she was able to put South Carolina in an exposure-centric place, very, very much in a prominent place.
Still say Reggie deserves a statue out there at the Blythewood Equestrian Grounds.
Give him some votes.
They've won national championships in equestrian. So, I mean, let's spread the love here a little bit. I think it's important to keep the horses of our state.
I think Reggie's getting enough pleasure.
Let's keep the horses in our state in the stables here in South Carolina.
These guys, they never sleep. Check them out on the web at SportsTalkSC.com. Now, more of Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. That's our phone number. We'll get to your phone calls here in just a moment. And more from Will down at Harbortown. Check out foundersfcu.com. Learn how they can assist you in all of your financial needs. Okay, we've had some folks waiting for a while patiently. Let's go to Alex in Charleston. Alex, good evening. Welcome into Sports Talk.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, boy, a beautiful day down here in Charleston. Just sun splatter today. My dogs are running around a pond. But I do some serious stuff. But before I get to serious stuff, I was going to say that I mentioned John Roach, a name I haven't heard since I think I was 5 years old. My father took me to McAllister Fieldhouse.
Okay, to see the Gamecocks and the Citadel.
Yeah, I mean, John Roach. I mean, my earliest memory is the Gamecocks coming down McAllister Fieldhouse, and him pulling out John. I wish I would got Brian Winters, and later on I'd see him in the NBA. But my other point is this: is something that was touched on here with Bobby Harden's sports show. It's this big Colin Kaepernick situation.
The fact that nobody is wanting to hire him?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you. Yeah, I mean, I really call your show, but I feel like I'm a ship without a port because I rarely watch any more NFL or I don't watch NBA anymore. All I do is just listen to sports radio shows like yours. And I don't know if you listened to Bobby's show before this just came on, but one of his color guys that used to work with him called him up about this whole thing. And they're just complete. He was kind of upset. I don't think he understood. Bobby's position was, listen, this is something you should take care of during the week. Write a letter to the editor. A lot of other ways, but it's the way to do it. And this is why I do not watch the NFL anymore. I'm going to make a quick point. I know we're not statewide. You cut off the Gamecock Network. I work in food and beverage down here in downtown Charleston. When people like LeBron James comes on and says things like, oh, Donald Trump is a racist, and all these other things, there's repercussions. It causes a lot of friction. And I'm to the point, like I said, I almost never didn't watch. I don't watch the NBA anymore because of that. And I'm real close to not watching the NBA. And I'm real close to not watching college football. They go for 3 years, they go right to the NFL, and they're taking a knee. Okay, and then what happened with Nick? I haven't heard anybody call out LeBron James. I've had nobody call out when that player for University of Alabama last year was coming on the field. They got recording him. He said blank Trump. Now I've had two uncles serve in Vietnam. One was a bomber pilot, and the other one was an infantryman with the Army who saw heavy action. I'm so disgusted with all of this. The only thing I care about now, I think I listen to Gamecock baseball. I'm not even watch college football anymore.
All right, thanks for your phone call. We appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, that's, when you go political, whether it's the sports world or the theater or whatever, you're going to lose people. There are going to be people that agree with you, and there are going to be people that disagree with you. And, in LeBron's case, what does he care? He's got his hundreds of millions of dollars. He's the best player in the world. He can play for any team. He can say what he wants. He could care less who disagrees with him.
Here's the key, though.
But if you're his boss, if you're the man cutting his checks, and it starts to bite you in the television ratings or the attendance or whatever like that, you, the boss, might take a little bit of a different approach to that.
Here's the thing. In this world, you have many people with varying opinions and varying experiences in life. The key point is, I am never going to let a guy's political persuasion make me dislike a person. There are people who have political persuasions that are different from mine, but we have great discussions because we have different ideas about things.
Yeah, but you know, like you say to me all the time, these are different times. And the political culture of today is so hot button. I mean, it just, everybody is on such an edge with their political beliefs and their differences. It was, you know, I don't know what it was like, 40, 50. Well,
but
I wasn't paying attention
problem.
40 or 50 years ago.
That's a me problem. There were some things discussed. For instance, if he was still alive today and he said some things politically I couldn't stand, I'm not going to stop listening to Miles Davis music because his art was tremendous. I'm not going to look at an athlete because he disagrees with me, because I'm appreciating his art, his work. I don't have to have everybody agree with me.
But I hear what you're saying. And I want to watch, as I've gotten older, politics have sort of
gotten too personal,
entered into my system more than it ever has. Not that anybody cares what my political beliefs are, and I'm not here to share them, but I'm saying I'd like to watch something with knowing that politics is not going to enter the discourse. I can't watch any more nighttime. I don't watch any more late night the talk shows on television. Because they're just so political, one way or the other. It's just, and I'm like, enough already. I don't want to be hit up against the head with that. That's always been my position about the NFL and the guys taking a knee. People want to go see football. They want to leave that outside the arena because they're faced with it 6 days a week. And on that seventh day, when they want to go watch their NFL team, they like to go in there and just root for the team and know that the players are focused on football and aren't using their position as a quarterback or whatever it happens to be, a great player, a linebacker, to make some sort of political statement, whether you are in favor of that position or not. They want to see them play football, and that's what they buy the ticket for.
But the bottom line is, I'll tell our friend that just called, if you're ticked off at everybody who disagrees with you, you won't be able to watch a thing. You won't be able to go to the movies. You won't be able to go down the street.
Here's my thing, guys. I come at this almost kind of from a left turn situation, in the fact that people in society, for one reason or another, because of the way society has developed, they're not happy unless they're feeling personally aggrieved. Whether it's people who are angry about politics, whether it's people who are angry about people who talk about politics, I just think we as a society have come to a point where we are not happy unless we are personally aggrieved. And I think that is the biggest problem. It has nothing to do about, what Donald Trump said or what Donald Trump's detractors said or what athletes said. Is that we are not happy unless we are feeling aggrieved. I don't personally live life that way, but I know a lot of people who do. And I think when we get to a point, and I'm not trying to sound, kind of hippie or almost utopian in a way, but I think too much of our culture is obsessed with feeling aggrieved and trying to create change or stand for something or protest something. Enjoy your life, man. Life is short. It's not something that is to be trite with. And I think that too much of life is spent from people's perspectives looking at the negative.
I protest that you're at Hilton Head and I'm stuck here in Columbia.
That is a you problem, Corn. That is not a me problem.
All right, now who are we going to hear from the golf links when we come back?
We have Dustin Johnson still to come. Also, defending champion Wesley Bryan. And you heard this a little bit in the Open, but he basically was asked the question, how to compare the Masters and Augusta National to the RBC Heritage. His answer will put a smile on your face.
All right, we'll have that coming your way. USC baseball about to get underway. WNBA draft about to get underway. And we'll hear from one of the Clemson Tigers who talked with the media after practice yesterday leading up to the spring game. Oh, we got recruiting. Oh, yeah.
What?
We got recruiting. There's no protest over recruiting.
I protest recruiting.
People protest that they want more recruiting. And we'll give you more recruiting coming up.